Ever wonder how I get those nice borders around my postcards so when I list them on eBay, they look really clean and you can see everything? Well, in today's video, I'm going to share with you a behind the scenes look at where my settings are on my scanner. And we're going to go there right after the intro. Hey guys, Ken here. Welcome back to the channel. On today's video, I just want to kind of give you a behind the scenes look of where my settings are that I have set up on my scanner. I'm going to show you, I'm going to go through each setting individual and show you, exactly where, the parameters that I've set, and especially the advanced settings to where it creates a nice border around my postcards. So you can see the whole card and everything looks clean and everything. So without any further ado, we're going to go to my computer and I'll show you that right now. Okay guys, here we are on my computer. We're going to start off in Photoshop. Now, that doesn't mean you have to have Photoshop. I'm just using this as a point of reference just so I can show you some things, and then we're going to move on to my scanner settings and we're going to go from there. Okay, but as you can see, this is where I used to have my cards set up. As you can see, like with this card that I recently listed on eBay, there's a gray border around here with a very thin white border, okay? And this has to do with what they call on this scanner. Now, this is in reference to the Epson ES400. And if you'd like to pick up one of these scanners, I do have a link in the description. It is an affiliate link through Amazon. They give me a little bit if somebody goes to my affiliate link, and I appreciate it. But yeah, this is for the Epson ES400. If you have a different kind of scanner, you might have similar settings, but this is specifically if you have an Epson ES400 series. Okay, so as you can see, there's a little white edge here around this postcard. This is a chrome card. There's no border on it or anything. And as you can see, a little white edge, and then there's a little more of the gray area. Now, this white edge on the Epson settings is called edge fill. You can adjust this to where you can set it at a certain parameter to, I had this one previously set at 0.06 all the way around, and that's why you see this thin white border. Now, you can set this at white, you can set it at black, or you can set it at none. And if you set it at none, then what happens is you get all gray. See how this gray area here? There wouldn't be any white fill. Okay, I don't do that. I want white in there. But one of the things that I've come across recently, and I've seen on several videos, is that Google, more and more people are searching for cards on Google, even as opposed to searching for them on eBay. They're having better results on Google. So I wanted to try to improve my search results on Google. So I want to be able to take this white edge and fill it, where this gray area is here. I want to be able to fill that in as close to the card as possible, but not to cut into the card, because I want to be able to show all the edges. Okay, so I show you this because this is the way most of my cards are scanned right now. Now, to be honest, I'm not going to go back through almost 4,000 cards and try to rescan and everything and change the setting. I'm just going to use this new setting because I did make a recent change to increase this white fill area, and I'm going to show you that on the video, on this next part of the video. And that way, when Google sees it, it sees it against a white background, because Google loves white backgrounds. That's what I hear. And it'll improve my search rankings on Google, so people will find my cards more often. So I wanted to start out by showing you this. Okay, now I'm going to bring up my scanner settings. This is all part of my scanner, ScanSoft software. Okay, and this is what I see when I'm about to scan a card. Now, I'm going to show you where my scanner's settings are. Okay, we're going to go, you need to be on this screen, and we're going to go into settings, and we're going to go to, first we're going to go to scan settings. Okay, these are my scanner settings. Okay, and you get this window that's pops up here. Okay, now, at any time during the video, you can freeze this video and you can copy these settings, and just when you go into your software, you can change them to all these things. Now, I don't know exactly what all these things actually mean. I've played around with these settings, for the time that I've had this scanner, and I've tried different things just to get it to where I'm comfortable with the settings and how it looks and how it's going to look on eBay. Okay, so we're going to start up here. This scanner, even though this is grayed out, it says Epson ES400 USB. Is that? Yeah, USB. It's a USB connection. So that's the brand name of the scanner. Okay, so you have to have an Epson ES400. Okay, now under scan settings, it says not selected. If you do this drop down menu, it's going to say save current settings. I just keep this at not selected. Okay, now we're in the main settings tab. Under the main settings tab, I got ADF. If you drop this down, there's nothing else there, so I keep that at ADF. I do not have automatic feeding mode checked. I mean, you can do that, and I guess it will just continue to auto feed. I don't need that because I scan my cards one at a time. Now, right here where it says scanning side, this is double-sided. You can go double-sided or single-sided, or you can do settings here and adjust those settings. I keep it on double-sided. I keep this on auto detect, and that's important because what auto detect does is it detects the size of the card. So if you have a 3.5 by 5.5 inch card, it's going to go to the outer edges of that card. Okay, if you have a 4 by 6 Continental, it's going to go to the outer edges of that card. In other words, you don't want to set a certain parameter there, for a 3.5 by 5.5 card, and then you put a 4 by 6 in there and it cuts too much into it because it's set for a 3.5 and you'd have to constantly change it. So that's why I choose auto detect, because I let the system auto detect the size of the card, where it's 3.5 by 5, 3 by 5, 4 by 6, 5 by 7, whatever. It auto detects it and it automatically crops around the card. Okay, now image type I have set on auto. Now on my resolution, which is my DPI setting, dots per inch, I have it set at 300. You might want to set it, if you do this drop down window right here, you could set this at anything. You can set it at 75, 100, 152, 243, 4, 600, 1200. The more you increase the DPI, the slower the scanner is going to scan the image. The difference between 300 DPI and 400 DPI is incredible. With 300 DPI, it goes right through it, no problem, like in a millisecond. I can increase that to 400, and it goes, and it just takes forever. Okay, and that's just one setting higher. So I keep mine set at 300. Okay, stitch images, I keep that off. I have no clue. I have no idea what that is. Like I said, I don't know what all these settings mean, but this is where I have it set. My rotate is at 0% because I don't. I think that has to do with. I don't know. Maybe it has an auto rotates. Let's see what this does. Okay, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 auto rotate. Okay, I just keep it at 0. Okay, that way when it scans the card, if it's a card that is scanned in portrait, then it'll be this way. If it's scanned in landscape, it'll be this way. Okay, so let me give you a card. This is landscape. This is portrait. Okay, and that's the way it'll scan. So I have mine set to 0. If I need to rotate them, I can always rotate them in eBay. They have a control on there where you can flip them, and that's what I do. Okay, current document size I have off. Don't need that. This setting is grayed out. It says add or edit pages after scanning. I don't need to do that. Skip blank pages. I have that on. Again, I'm not sure exactly what that does. Detect double feed. I have that off. Okay. Now you can do a preview, or if you've got a card in the scanner and it'll spit it through and you can see a preview of it. Okay, but that's pretty much where I have my general and my main settings set at. So like I said, if you need to copy these, just freeze the video at any time and you can copy those settings and you can set yours up exactly the same way. Okay, now we're going to go to advanced settings. This is where the borders come in and stuff like this. Now, for image option, I have none. Okay, remove background, text enhancement, I don't worry about that. All this stuff right here, auto area, segmentation, don't know what that is, dropout, Don't know what that is. Color enhance. I don't want to color enhance because one of the things you need to be aware of is with this scanner, I can't speak for all other scanners. You may have a more advanced scanner, but for these, the color enhancement, you don't want to do that because it's gonna saturate those colors even more. I mean, when I run a card through this scanner, it automatically oversaturates the cards, and that's why I always color correct my cards in Photoshop. Some people don't do that; they say it's a waste of time, but I want my cards to be color accurate, as close to what my eye sees when I pick up the card and look at it. That way, what I'm seeing is what my buyer will see. That way, I don't get an item not as described case filed against me because the image on eBay is beautifully saturated, and then they get the card and it looks like it's faded because the tonalities are different. Okay, so I leave that off. Now my brightness setting, I have at -1. Okay, I played around with the settings, different settings. I like -1. My contrast setting is -15. My gamma setting is 1.8. Okay, don't ask me what gamma is. I forget. I said I don't know what all these things are. But the thing is, these are where I played with these settings, and this is what I've pretty much settled on. Okay, now this is why I say I have to run my cards through Photoshop to color correct, because these are really the only settings that I've seen on this particular scanner model where you can make adjustments. Is your brightness, your contrast, and your gamma. It doesn't have saturation. It doesn't have hue. It doesn't have any of the stuff I have in Photoshop. That's why I take the time to desaturate a little bit. If I need to up the mid-tones or whatever, I can do that in Photoshop. Okay, unsharp mask. I don't use masks, so I don't need that. Descreening, don't know what that is. Now, we come down to edge fill. This is under advanced settings, okay? And I'm going to go into that in a little more detail. It says remove punch holes. That's off. I don't have any punch holes in my, if I had holes in my cards, maybe I would change that setting. Dual image output. I have no idea what that is. Watermark. I have no watermarks on my cards, so I have that turned off. Okay, now, this is the part of the video that is most important. Some people have asked me on my previous videos, how do you get that nice border around? And as you can see, as I showed you in the other part of the video, before I had a very thin white border. That was set at 0.06. That's why it was so thin. And then the rest of it was gray. Well, this is where you can change that setting. See, where it says edge fill, you can either have white, you can have none, or you can have black. Black will edge fill in all black. White will do white, obviously, and none will give you all gray. And that's that gray area that you saw. You saw the thin white border, pure white border, and then you saw most of it gray. If you select none on this, it will give you all gray. Okay, I don't want that because, again, Google likes white backgrounds. So what I want to do is I want to try to fill in as much of that gray area with white, pure white, so that Google will be satisfied and hopefully people will see my cards more. Okay, so I have it selected on white. Okay, but with this white down here, as you can see, and some people miss this, there's another drop down. There's another settings that's called settings, another panel. Okay, and this is where you can adjust the edge width of how much you want that white border to creep in over that gray. Okay, now I'm going to click on this, and it brings up this window. Okay, now currently, this, I played around with this, and currently I have this set at 0.18 all the way around. Okay, you can either use the arrows to increase it, or you can just hover over it and type in the setting that you want. Okay, and this is important because I'm going to show you in a minute why. Okay, so I'm going to close this out for a second, and what I'm going to do, just to demonstrate why I have it set that way, is, let's see, I'm going to close this out and close this out. Okay, now I'm going to take this card. Now this card has the reason I chose this card is because, one, it has a border. This is a linen card, and it has a border around it, and it also has text right at the top edge. See that? That text up there? That's why I wanted to choose this particular card to use it as a demonstration, because you're going to see. That's why I chose 0.18 as opposed to, you know, another setting, and I'll show you that in the video. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this card and I'm going to put it in my scanner. And when I put things in my scanner, I put them upside down and backwards. In other words, the card face is facing towards the scanner and it's upside down. So that way, when it scans because it comes through the scanner and then it scans right side up. Okay, that way I don't have to flip anything around or anything. So what I'm going to do, this is set at 0.18. I'm going to run a scan test here. Okay, this is actually like if I was going to scan an item that's going to be, you know, okay, and as you can see, it's set at 0.18. There's more white fill here than there is gray. And the reason I chose 0.18 is because I want to be able to show these edges. See, sometimes you're going to get a postcard that's going to have some imperfections or some damage to the edge, and you want to be able to show your buyer that damage, because you don't want to hide that from them, because if you do that and they get it and they didn't see that in the initial image on eBay, and then they get it and it's damaged or it's crumpled or whatever, and they look at the image on eBay and they say, huh, it looks perfectly clean on eBay, look like it was like it's in brand new condition, and here I get this card and all of a sudden I get these imperfections. And that's a, you know, item not described case looking for a place to happen. Okay, so that's why I chose this setting, so you can see the whole card. Now, for the purpose of demonstration, I'm going to change the setting just to show you what happens when you change the setting, when you increase it. Because keep an eye on this text at the top. This is why I chose this card. Okay, I'm going to put this card back in the tray. Okay, now I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to X out of this. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into settings and go into scan settings. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here. Oh, go to advanced and then go down to white and go down to settings here. Okay, now this is where you change the parameters of that white border. Okay, I have it set at 0.18. Now what happens when I set it to 0.25? Okay, 0.25, 0.25, 0.25. Okay, and we're going to hit OK on that. Now we're going to hit save. Okay, now it's set to 0.25. I'm going to close this out. My card's in the tray. I'm going to run a scan. Watch what happens. Boom. You see how that white border is now cut into the text? I mean, it's actually showing some gray over here. Even here, it's showing no gray. I mean, this is a nice clean look, but this is what happens. Okay, let me do something a little further just to maybe make up for this. Okay, I'm gonna, what am I gonna do? Close out of that. Yes. Okay, I'm going to put the card back in the tray again, upside down and backwards. In other words, I'm looking at the back of the card upside down. And we're going to go into settings again, go to scan settings. Oh, one of the things I wanted to show you before, device settings. I forgot to do that. Sorry. This isn't very, I mean, I'm going to just briefly, you can see these screens and freeze them and copy these settings if you want. Under information, this is the serial number of the scanner, when I bought it, and all that stuff. Counter, here's my settings for that. You can freeze that screen and look at it. Power saver, I've got it on 10. I guess that's 10 minutes. AC power is off. And adjustments, this is where I've got it set. -20 and front side, back side. Page feed direction, it's pretty much set at 0. But that's where I've got those device settings. I meant to go over that before I went into this other thing with about the border, sorry. But okay, let's go back into scan settings, and I'm going to increase that. I'm going to go to advanced settings, and then we're going to go to white, and we're going to go to settings. I'm going to increase this to 0.50. And I'm going real drastic here, right? And I'm doing this just for demonstration purposes. 0.50, 0.50 all the way around. That way it's equal all the way around. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click Save. Now it's set at 0.50. Okay, I'm going to close this out. I'm going to run another scan. Watch what happens. Look at that. Nice clean look. Nice clean border. Where's the text? Where's the edge of the board? Where's the edge of the card? You can't even see it. You can't even. You would look at that card and say, "Oh, this must be a chrome. It's a full bleed. It's edge to edge." And then all of a sudden they get a card and it looks like this, and there's a border and there's text. It looks completely different. That's why you don't want to, mess with your border edge fill too much. Okay, I'm going to close out of this. Go to yes. And we're going to go back into settings, go back into scan settings, and advanced, and then go to white, and then go drop down to settings, and I'm going to put that back at 0.18. And I played around, like I said, with 0.19. Whoops, I had that on the brain. 0.18, 0.18, 0.18, and we're going to save that. Save. Okay, it's set back at 0.18 now. Okay, but that's why I choose 0.18. So when I run that card, let's see, make sure I get it going in the right way here. Another thing too, when you put your card in your tray, always just kind of try to nudge the sides up against your card as firmly as you can without bending the card. That will hold the card in place, because sometimes if you just, I've noticed that some people like to scan multiple cards, like 25 cards at a time, and it'll do that. It'll set up to automatically do that. But what happens, I found, this is why I scan them individually, because what happens that I found is when you do that, it shifts the cards around so that when your card gets scanned, sometimes it's not straight. It ends up going like this or like this. And that's the way it looks on the scan. And so I've chosen, I tried to combat that. I tried slowing the speed down. I increased the DPI to 400, but I still got some cards that were, a little off skew. So I stick with 300 DPI, and I only do one at a time, and that way that works for me. Okay, now let me check these scan settings. I've been rambling on so much that I forgot whether I changed those or not. Go to white, go to settings, 0.18. Yeah. Okay to that and save. Okay. And close that, and I'm going to run a scan. And this should be back to 1.8. And there it is. Okay, 1.8. And as you can see, it's just around the edge of the card. Just like that. And it doesn't cut into the text, even though the text is because sometimes this text is really close to the top edge of the card. And if it's the bottom, sometimes it's really close to the bottom edge. That's why you want to be able to show, so this is why I chose 0.18, because it's barely outside the edge of the card. Most of it is white fill, and there's just a little bit of gray there, but you can still see the card edges. So if we had any damage or anything, you can see that. I'm going to put another card in here just for demonstration purposes. Let me see if I can find a card with some, here's a good one. Yeah, this is good. I'm going to flip this upside down and backwards, nudge that in there. I'm going to close this out. Okay, now we're going to run, this is at 0.18. We're going to run a scan. This is a chrome card, full bleed, edge to edge, no borders, no text. Okay. But again, see, it's just outside the edges. And sometimes you'll get cards with rounded corners. That's another key point that I didn't even think about. If you crop this white in too much, it's going to square off those corners. And they're going to think they're getting a square card. And then they get a card and they find out the corners are rounded. Again, another reason for somebody to say, this isn't what I bought. This isn't what I ordered. Item not as described. I want a refund. Okay? You want to make sure these are accurate. It's very important. And as you can see, these are right close enough to the edge, but you can just see the corners. And if there's any damage, like this top right corner, there's a little bit of wear there. And this is kind of a rounded corner there. You can see that. Okay, whereas if I had that white border cropped in, you wouldn't be able to see that. It would crop it clean, and you'd be misrepresenting your product pretty much. Okay, let me see if I can find another card that is similar to that. Oh, here's here's a good example. Now this has really no damage to it, but it has a signature. This is like a painting card, and it has a signature, which is a good example. I'm going to put that card in there. I'm going to get out of this. And I'm just doing this to show you the different cards, as opposed to the way I have it set up. We're going to run this scan. Now, this is at 0.18. Okay, that just ran. Now, this is what I wanted to point out. See, you can see the edges. There's a little bit of damage there, a little bit there. But see this little thin, looks like a gold border around it? If you were to crop in too tight, you'd crop that border right out. And then they'd get a card with a gold border when they saw a card on eBay that didn't have a border. And here's another reason. You see down in this lower left corner, this is kind of an artistic, an artist painting. And you get those kind of cards. And it's, I can't read what it says. It looks like Thomas something. Let me look at it under the loop. No, it says Bradley. I can't make out the last name, but it's basically the artist's signature. And if you want to highlight that, if you crop into that with the white border, it's going to crop into it may crop into the signature. It may crop it completely out. And again, you're misrepresenting, your card, your product. Okay. Now let me show you one other thing and wrap this up. I just want to show you, because I had this thing set at auto detect, I think it was, on the scan settings. What I'm going to do is close out of this. And is this a 4x6? Yeah, I believe so. Let me look at another one here. Oh, here we go. Here's a nice one. It's got some damage too on the corners. Yeah, this would be a good one. This is actually a continental size. So I got to adjust my tray. There we go. And it's set at 0.18, okay? But since I have the scan settings set at auto detect, I think that was the name of the settings. Okay, I'm going to scan this. And even though this is a different size card, the standard size is 3.5 by 5.5. This is 4x6 continental. It detects where the edges are. See? And it crops this one perfectly. You got a little tiny bit of gray, and see, as you can see, there's some damage along the side and the corners. Again, you want to be able to show that to your customer because you don't want to misrepresent your product. So you can see all the edge to edge, and there's just a little tiny bit of gray. It looks like the card shifted just a little bit, but not bad. And yeah, and that's a 4x6 Continental. See, that way you don't have to constantly change your settings to fit the card size. It auto detects the size of the card, whether it's a 3.5 by 5. I've had cards that have been 3 by 5, 4 by 6. I've even had cards that are 5 by 7. I don't sell those anymore because they don't really sell because they're too big. But the thing is, the 4 by 6 Continentals that I sell and the 3.5 by 5 standards I call, this system auto detects that and it puts that border right there. And no matter if it's a standard size card or a Continental, you're going to come out with it looking right, and then you can upload that to eBay, and it'll look, this white area will fill into the white area, it will blend with the white area on eBay, and it'll look great. Okay, and we're back. Okay, guys, those are my settings. Like I said, you can freeze the video at any point to copy my settings if you want. You can play around with them in the software. And maybe, those aren't going to work for you, but I just wanted to share that with you just so it shows you how I crop my images, using the scanner so that they come out looking good on eBay. And like I said, that auto detect feature doesn't matter whether you have a 3.5 by 5.5 card standard, whether it's a standard card with a thin border around it, or if you have a 4 by 6, You know, it'll auto detect the size of the card, and it'll put a perfect frame border around it, no matter what size card you have, and you'll be good to go. Okay, that's going to be it for today. I hope you got a lot out of this video. I know it's been a little long. I appreciate you sticking with me. If you got anything out of this video, you know what to do. Smash that like button. It helps the channel. I appreciate it. I'm going to go, but you guys have a great day. Make a lot of sales, and we'll see you on the next video. Take care, and bye for now.